not quite sure what to do with yourself when it's finished. It's very hard to conceive of any kind of a life after it. Of course, there is one waiting.
Remember him? Daniel Day-Lewis, the actor many still call the greatest of his generation. Out of just 11 to 12 lead roles in his entire career, he was nominated for major awards 6 times and won 3, a record most actors can only dream of. Yet at the height of his fame, when Hollywood wanted more, he chose less. Daniel Day-Lewis quietly limited his roles, stepped away from the spotlight, and put family and inner peace above non-stop success. Known for going to extreme lengths, sometimes bordering on madness, just to live inside a character, he shocked fans again in 2017 by retiring completely. And then, just as people thought his story was over, he returned for a 2025 film directed by his own son. So what really happened to one of the most intense actors ever? And why did he walk away when the world still wanted more? Daniel Michael Blake. Day-Lewis was born in London in 1957 into a world already steeped in art and imagination. His father, Cecil Day-Lewis, was a celebrated poet, while his mother, Jill Balcon, was an accomplished actress, figures who quietly shaped his earliest understanding of storytelling. Surrounded by writers, performers, and intellectuals, Day-Lewis found the stage young, emerging as a standout talent with the National Youth Theatre, before refining his craft at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School. After early work in television and theatre, his film breakthrough arrived in 1985 with a daring performance as a gay man in an interracial relationship in My Beautiful Laundrette. From there, his reputation deepened rather than expanded. Over the next decade, he began developing the extreme discipline that would define him, preparing obsessively, staying in character even between takes, and drawing others into that illusion. While this devotion earned extraordinary praise, it often came at a personal cost. Roles such as Christy Brown in My Left Foot pushed his body and mind to their limits, setting the tone for a career marked by brilliance, sacrifice, and an ever-present tension between art and survival. By the late 1990s, Oscar recognition and critical praise had sealed Daniel Day-Lewis's place among cinema's most formidable talents. Yet even at the height of his success, he stepped away, vanishing not into luxury, but into obscurity. Spending time in Italy as an apprentice cobbler, learning a trade that asked for patience rather than applause. When he returned in 2002 for Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, he arrived transformed once again, having trained in knife combat, street fighting, and a hardened New York dialect to inhabit the role completely. In 2007, he delivered one of the most ferocious performances ever captured on film as oilman Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood, earning a second Academy Award and redefining what intensity on screen could look like. 5 years later, he disappeared into history itself, becoming Abraham Lincoln for Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. He remained in character throughout the production, speaking in a Kentucky-inflected voice even off camera. The result was quietly devastating and unprecedented, earning him a third Best Actor Oscar. By then, he was no longer just admired. He was spoken of in reverent terms, as the finest actor of his era, and perhaps of all time. His final appearance before retirement came in 2017's Phantom Thread, where he portrayed the meticulous fashion designer Reynolds Woodcock. True to form, he trained for months under a master couturier before filming. Shortly after, in June 2017, Daniel Day-Lewis chose silence once more, this time for good, closing a career defined by devotion, brilliance, and an unrelenting cost. After a long descent into depression, the celebrated actor quietly reached a breaking point. The emotional weight of inhabiting other people's lives again and again became too heavy to carry. Daniel Day-Lewis, often regarded as one of the greatest actors of his generation, chose silence over spectacle, retreat over applause. And the mystery surrounding him is no accident. Unlike most icons of his stature, Day-Lewis has always guarded his private world with fierce intention. Frequently likened to Marlon Brando, he belongs to that rare lineage of performers who step away from fame rather than chase it. While his performances are etched into film history, the man behind them remains deliberately elusive. Beyond his wife and children, very few truly know him. Family, he once suggested, leaves little room for isolation. Yet his version of togetherness exists far from the noise of Hollywood. For decades, Day-Lewis has lived quietly in a small Irish village, surrounded not by crowds but by rolling land and open sky. He and his family reside in a modest home set within a sprawling 50-acre farm, much of it purchased solely to preserve solitude. Privacy for him is not a luxury, it's a necessity. He keeps his distance, even from famous neighbors, including U2's Bono. Unbothered by expectations or status, Day-Lewis has embraced a life that mirrors his temperament, inward, reflective, and resolutely his own. In choosing obscurity over admiration, he found something far rarer than fame, peace. Daniel Day-Lewis once reflected that he doesn't feel the weight of fame in there. That quiet distinction explains everything about the life he chose, and the walls he built, both visible and unseen. When solitude cannot be found, Day-Lewis has a habit of constructing it himself. During the filming of The Ballad of Jack and Rose, far from the comforts of a typical actor's routine, he built a small wooden shack with his own hands and lived inside it throughout the shoot. His family stayed nearby in a comfortable hotel, but he remained alone by choice. The set, he felt, was too crowded, too alive. Isolation was not indulgence, it was preparation, a way to stay honest with the character he was becoming. Still, even he knew such isolation was temporary. When filming ended, he returned to what he called his refuge, the 50-acre stretch of land where silence waits patiently for him. That place, not the applause of audiences, became his true home. Day-Lewis does not drift in and out of acting casually. He emerges only when a role feels essential, when the story demands something from him that ordinary life cannot. Over the past 2 decades, those moments have been rare, yet one of them earned him a second Academy Award. To many, There Will Be Blood stands as a towering achievement. To others, it was unsettling. Kel O'Neill, originally cast as Eli, later became entangled in rumors suggesting he fled the project because Day-Lewis was intimidating or unhinged. Another actor who eventually played Eli recalled a chilling intensity during the infamous bowling alley scene. Bowling balls flying with more force than expected, realism bleeding into danger. Crew members were shaken. This was not what was written. This was something else entirely. Stories like these followed Day-Lewis for years. On Gangs of New York, one co-star reportedly bristled at being addressed by his character's name even outside the set, including chance encounters at the gym. For some, his devotion to the craft felt excessive, even hostile. Yet time softened the narrative. O'Neill later denied that Day-Lewis had anything to do with his departure, suggesting instead that the rumors were part of a growing legend, one that risked turning a man into a myth. "We should be careful," he said, "especially now that Day-Lewis has stepped away for good, not to make him so mythical that we forget a human is underneath." And perhaps that is the quiet tragedy of Daniel Day-Lewis, a man whose pursuit of truth on screen demanded so much distance from the world that when the performances ended, retreat felt like the only way to survive. Daniel Day-Lewis has spoken of leaving acting so often that for years, few believed he ever truly would. Once he actually did. In the middle of a stage performance, he fled the theater and never returned, later explaining that he felt his late father's presence so vividly it shattered his sense of reality. He said it felt as though he was speaking directly to him, and whatever was said in that moment was too heavy to endure. The curtain closed, and with it, his life in the theater. He has never stepped back onto a stage since. Film proved harder to abandon. Again and again, Day-Lewis attempted to walk away, only to retreat into long silences instead. Years of absence punctuated by sudden, unforgettable returns. Each time a role of rare depth found him, he surrendered his solitude and disappeared into months of intense work. That pattern is why many dismissed his retirement announcement as another pause, not a farewell. But this time was different. On the set of Phantom Thread, what began as another collaboration slowly transformed into something darker and more final. Day-Lewis later admitted that stopping was not a plan but a realization he could no longer ignore. Before filming began, he and director Paul Thomas Anderson shared laughter and excitement. As the production unfolded, that lightness vanished, replaced by a profound sadness that settled over them both. It became difficult to live with, and it still lingers. Walking away from acting was no longer about discipline or choice. It was about survival. Yet retirement did not mean disappearance. Those rare guests invited into his secluded mountain home discovered that his devotion simply shifted shape. In place of scripts and rehearsals came shoemaking, woodworking, and the quiet satisfaction of creating something with his hands. Years earlier, during one of his long withdrawals from acting, Day-Lewis briefly returned to filmmaking, but not as a performer. The screen no longer needed him. What he sought instead was craft without applause, creation without exposure, and a life where silence finally spoke louder than praise. Even after stepping away from the spotlight, Daniel Day-Lewis never stopped building, literally or figuratively. On The Private Lives of Pippa Lee, directed by his wife Rebecca Miller, he quietly joined the carpentry crew, helping construct the film's sets with his own hands. Miller, the daughter of legendary playwright Arthur Miller, once married to Marilyn Monroe, was used to creative intensity. But Day-Lewis approached even this off-screen role with the same devotion he once gave to acting. So grounded was his off-camera life that his own son, at the age of 9, had no idea his father was a world-famous actor. He assumed his dad worked in construction. That misunderstanding wasn't entirely unreasonable. Day-Lewis has long insisted on living as close as possible to his characters, sometimes for years at a time, before moving on to another role. For the last of the Mohicans, that commitment meant isolation in the wilderness. He lived alone in the forest, teaching himself how to survive from the land, hunting, tracking, skinning animals, and refusing to eat anything he hadn't caught himself. Somewhere in those quiet, demanding months, his love for carpentry deepened. He crafted canoes by hand, and later joked that he could easily make a living selling them after retirement. Knowing Day-Lewis, it never sounded entirely like a joke. Yet these extremes were only part of a long pattern. For, in the name of the Father, he prepared for an interrogation scene by spending 2 days and nights in jail, deliberately denying himself food and water. The ordeal earned no awards, only concern from his co-stars and crew, who watched his dedication drift into self-punishment. During the crucible, rumors spread that he avoided washing altogether. While never confirmed, what is known is that he built a replica home on set and lived inside it without electricity or running water, fully immersing himself in the harsh rhythms of another century. His first Academy Award for My Left Foot came at a physical cost. Determined to honor Christy Brown, who could move only his left foot, Day-Lewis remained in a wheelchair throughout filming. Crew members carried him from place to place. He fell often. The strain, combined with constant slouching, resulted in 2 broken ribs, but he never wavered. Even when recognition wasn't guaranteed, his intensity remained. For the unbearable lightness of being, he learned Czech to absorb the rhythm and spirit of the language, despite never speaking it on screen. When he felt he hadn't mastered it fully, the disappointment haunted him. He went through real torment, the director later said. He wasn't acting Czech, he was trying to become Czech. Looking back, these stories feel less like curiosities and more like quiet warnings. Daniel Day-Lewis did not simply perform lives, he carried them inside himself. And eventually that weight asked for something in return. For 7 long years, Daniel Day-Lewis remained silent, his retirement seemingly final. Then, in October 2024, the stillness broke. It was announced that he would return to acting, not through spectacle or studio pressure, but through something deeply personal. His comeback came in Anemone, a film directed by his son, Ronan Day-Lewis, a project the two of them shaped together as co-writers. It was less a return to fame than a quiet passing of the torch. Sharing the screen with Sean Bean and Samantha Morton, Day-Lewis stepped back into cinema with a gravity that felt earned rather than dramatic. When the film premiered at the 2025 New York Film Festival, it carried the weight of absence, time, and expectation. Critics noted that this was not an actor chasing relevance, but one answering a call he could no longer ignore. His performance was described as powerful and assured, a reminder that even after years away, the craft had never left him. In the end, his return did not undo his farewell. It reframed it. This was not a resurrection of an old career, but a reflective coda, proof that some artists never truly leave. They simply wait for the right moment to speak again.